Oh, now I'm live. Now I'm live. Welcome, everyone. This is second attempt live with Shona, but we don't give up here. She's going to join in a moment. I don't know what just happened, but if you were joining us, we were 20 minutes in, and the whole thing just freaked out and froze. What a bummer. Joining us on the replay. What to say other than the divine always tests us.
We're back.
I cannot, I always have these experiences where I'm like, okay, this is the meditation, but I was so enjoying our conversation. However, we will start again, and who knows where we will go.
Exactly. We're just going to pick up. There we go. Oh,
Well, thank you for being here and staying a bit longer with me, first and foremost.
such a pleasure.
Really, it's so, yeah, it's so beautiful. So, little new intro for you all. This is magnificent Shona from the beautiful, I would call it more sanctuary than just a retreat space, a sanctuary where we are hosting our Naked Soul experience, which is happening in May the 13th to the 20th. We would love you to join. So if you've been on the fence and considering it, I wanted to bring you the founder and owner, co-owner of the land, because this is the land where we will be having our first experience and later in the year, a second one. And this new collaboration has been born, and I would love to introduce this divine being to you. So welcome, Shona. Thank you, my love.
Diamond.
It feels like we've just been speaking not long ago.
Exactly. Like a deja vu vibe.
So I'd love you, yeah, completely. Don't worry. I know you know this. We don't have to remember anything, but I'd love you to just share again, but in maybe a nuance, a new nuance, because, you know, the divine is asking us for something else. But yeah, what it what does Serra Vida mean for you and your beloved Daniel and the team there? What does it really mean for you, Serra Vida?
I'm going to marinate on that for a moment. Serra Vida really means this. It's such invitation to us, but it has a huge potential. And I know this is an intention of many, but it is such a magnet and it's a hub in some way. But it has a huge potential to send out a grand ripple effect of love.
Mm.
And yeah, with love and remembrance.
Yeah, yeah, and it's also, I'm going to bring us in because the land itself is holding such wisdom, and yeah, it's a place of peace. But when I arrived on the land, so for everyone watching, like when I'm looking for different venues, often I go, you know, what comes through, and often we've been at some retreat centers and so on, but to have the nature in the real and raw and potent way that Serra Vida is holding, for me, has been quite rare. So I was very, very excited as soon as I landed on there. I was almost like, what's happening? Who else lives here? What's going on? It's so beautiful. And I was walking around with Daniel, and basically it was, we had a moment, and we just said, you know what? I said to him, brother, this land is so beautiful. You know, naked soul, we don't even have to do anything. We just have to get beings to this land, you know? So yeah, I'd love you to just share a bit about just how this land supports those that get to taste it.
It comes in many forms in many ways, I feel, as well. Like the land, first of all, like it's very interesting to see how like I shared about the magnetism, there is definitely, like, when people feel the calling to come here, it's very potent and it's beyond us. Like also for Daniel and I and Leon, we all feel like we're like in the society that we live now, we are the owners of the land. However, the term never really suited me. It was always like, how can someone own land?
Mm.
It's a living. No one can really own land because, like, who has the right to sell that to you? So I always like to say that we're the guardians of the land, and we are here to protect it and to really tune in and listen to see what it is that the land wants and wants to attract. And then from our human form, we can help direct the energy that it wants to send out.
Mm.
Like an antenna, maybe. and and it's beautiful to see, like, it goes so far beyond us when the land is sending energy out, and it is very, very, very strong with its communication. Of course, the invitation is you need to listen. That is the thing. But even when it doesn't, like I always say to people when they're here on the land, because it's quite the manifester as well. When I hear people speaking about negative things, like where they're worries, or they might be scared of, like, oh gosh, I hope I don't break my ankle on the path, I warn them and say, hey, you better be careful, because this land is really potent and it manifests quickly. So if you speak in negative energy, that is exactly what it will bring to you. If you speak about your dreams and your visions and what it is that you want to pull in, the land will really help. So yeah, it's the magnetism is strong, the manifestation is strong, and I feel, because the nature, like you pointed out so perfectly, and I love hearing you speak about it, because when you are on the land all the time, you tend, it becomes a normal, and it's far from normal. And it's like you said, the nature is wild, it's alive. There's nothing cultivated about it. Everything is very just as it is in the national park. And we were speaking about this the other day, where because the nature is so raw and wild, there is no other thing to do than just be in it, because nature doesn't do, it is. So it invites you also to simply be, which is just, the land's pretty good at here.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And we just touched on this actually, because I said, like, what is like the essence of Naked Soul? And for everyone tuning in new, Naked the retreat was an original 7 and 10 day experience that I created, and now we've renamed that whole experience, that first initiation, if you will, as Naked Soul Experience. And there will be other spin-offs and different things underneath the Naked Soul umbrella, if you will. And Naked, to launch this year for 2025, I wanted to find someone, I know Karina feels so strongly about this as well. We wanted to find a space that could really hold us in a way that does the work for us, right? There's always this idea of, like, you're coming to get something from me, or coming to get something from Karina, or coming to get something from Shona, or anyone else who's on the land. But ultimately, like Shona said, we are the guardians of it. Are we really listening to the elemental language? Are we really, Shona said earlier, just to speak for you, love, but she said, like, the water is there, and if you're with it long enough, it will support you to bring stuff to the surface and move it. The boulders are there holding you as a grounding force, and the trees and the diversity of that space. If we're willing to slow down, to stop, to pause, then we can connect to the deeper source self that we all possess. We don't need somebody else's wisdom to overcloud us and fill us with more concepts, theories, and ideas, right? The whole idea of Naked is about peeling off so we can remember.
Exactly like you said, Simon, because we have it within us already. It's like the wisdom, what we carry, what we need for ourselves, we carry it. There's just layers and layers and layers and layers and layers on top that are kind of clouding it all. And the nature, I feel like, indeed, it just kind of slows things down. I think slowing down is perfect for it.
Yeah.
I want to share as well, it was so fascinating just now with when our live cut. It was such a goosebump moment, Simon. I was really like, because we were speaking about how potent the land is with its communication as well, and you were sharing something so important, I feel, where we are like, it's about being, And as facilitators, there are things as creators, let's say, we want to create spaces that we want other people to be in so that they can, you know, be their best selves, so that the world can flourish a bit more. But how, if we're not living that freedom, if we're not living that non-doing, if we're not resting, how can we be giving from an empty cup? Because we're not doing it ourselves. Because it's so hard continuously to literally rebel in the way of, no, you know what, I'm just gonna rest today, because it feels like a rebellious act.
Right.
And just now the live froze, and it kept on repeating what you said. It's like, if we want to be free, how can we, you know, like, how can we do this without just being free? And it kept on repeating and repeating, and then it closed, and I was like, okay, that was a post-it message. I hear you land, I got it. And then it opened up to this Earth Wisdom post that we just finally just posted, with a beautiful chorus song that was repeating, "Are you listening? Are you listening?" And I was just like, oh my God. I was like, okay, loud and clear, very loud and clear. So by now, everyone who's watching, Simon and I are going to take a, you know, holiday forever. And
Yes.
you can follow us live, how we're enjoying life. And I hope you stay.
Yeah.
We'll be here sunbathing.
You know, and you know what? I'm so glad you brought that back in, because, like, really, Shona, our coming together has been very profound already. Even the fact that, you know, what's emerged with the potential of the co-creation of the land close by to you, but there's your space and what you just said, and that we're getting the messages. And if we're really listening, are we really listening?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's what I was saying to everyone. I said, what, like, naked soul, maybe we do one naked soul, that's it, we never leave. Right? Because, you know, because, you know, what I was saying is that recently, and I want to bring this in as well, because I think it's a key point, is that I was sharing that through a separation of after 3 years, I'm getting to look inside and doing this deeper work with internal family systems, and like looking at these parts that are uncovering to me, you know, some harsh, brutal mirroring that's showing me how distorted some of my behavior had been. And when I'm looking at it, I'm not blaming her or blaming me. You know, we were doing the best we could. But as I'm going to the root beneath the root, I'm seeing it's linked into scarcity, not enoughness, and the inability to rest, as Shona just said. That's what we were talking about. I'm glad you brought it back in, love, because when I'm looking at those parts that are playing out, and they're caught up in the doing, right? Doing to whatever, help save the world, doing to make more money, scarcity, not enough time, not enough intimacy, not enough.
Mm-hmm.
And the very fabric of Naked Soul is the invitation into the deeper recesses of our subconscious, into the deeper layers of our parts and our conditioning, so that we can actually come back to wholeness, which is the freedom. And that's really, for me, that inner journey. There is no freedom if we don't do that inner journey with real integrity and dedication.
Yeah. Exactly. And I feel like, first of all, well done to you for doing this work, because it's not nothing. It's really well done. Because I feel also, when we clear out our own energy, when we reflect on that, we are that energy that we want to see in the world. But there's no point in doing and let's create a better world together if we're not actually doing it for ourselves.
Totally.
An empty
Yeah.
cup, trying to give what we don't have. It
Yeah.
makes no sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's definitely a shift, you know. So, yeah. So tell me, Shona, for you so far, I mean, again, for the people that are new here, how you've had the land 2 years now?
3 years now.
3 years.
Yeah,
And then you've also had a baby.
yes. We've had a baby girl, Lua.
You've had a baby girl, which also you mentioned earlier has supported you to actually slow down, right? And to come into the land.
In the most beautiful way. Like me, because I come from the fashion industry. So from there onwards, they quite, like, at a very young age, they grab you and they kind of, like, you know, they say, hey, passion for fashion, passion for fashion. That means you don't sleep anymore. And so I came from quite the, you know, a harsh working background. And, you know, workaholic wise pretty high up there. And when I became pregnant, I was like, oh my God, how am I going to do all the things that I'm doing and do this with a baby? So can you see how many times the word doing in that sentence alone?
Yeah.
I was really worried in the beginning. I was like, oh, this is year 2. Like, you know, she was welcomed, but it wasn't planned necessarily. And of course, Diane and I are the founders. So, you know, we're very early stages of Serra Vida. So I'm like, okay, this is going to be an intense one. And it was the most beautiful thing. And I also had trust. I was like, okay, you know what? This is happening for a reason, because it was a very profound way. I became pregnant. It was all very beautiful and very meant to be. So I couldn't doubt that part. I was like, okay, this is happening for a reason right now. And she is the most beautiful invitation for us just to slow down, to do exactly that, and to actually relax a little bit more and sit back, and instead of doing all these, be more of what it is that I personally want to be. And she brings so much joy. And since the moment when she's come, there's been so many moments where I'm like we're speaking about that to-do list. I do the same, the never-ending to-do list. And the longer my to-do list, the more productive I am, and the better and there's so many things where, because there's the time has run out, because you have a baby, you need to be present. And the moment that you're not present, they'll let you know pretty fast.
Right.
Many things on my to-do list, I'm like, not that important, I guess. So yeah, moving on. And the things that are really important, they'll persist. So I'll do that now. So instead of working 7 days a week, which I did last year before becoming pregnant, I now maybe work 3 days a week. And the rest I'm just playing on the land and being present. And the same things are happening, the same efficiency, the business is still running, the sanctuary, I love that. I'm going to call it sanctuary for now. Thanks, Fragment. The sanctuary is still blossoming, things are moving. I'm just doing less but being more, and that's been the best lesson.
I love it. I get goosebumps again. Like what I love is that this is a message right now, regardless. Like, I want everyone to come to Naked. Of course, I want them to come to Serra Vida. I feel that I have a gift that I want to share with others, and I feel that through experience, you can have a transformative experience. But the land itself is the medicine. If any of you take plant medicine, if you've done ayahuasca, if you've explored with these things, what we're inviting in Naked Soul is a journey of such where you get to face what you need to puke out. It will be more subtle. It may not kick your ass like ayahuasca straight after drinking a few cups. But if you're willing to come and face yourself, that's really what Naked Soul is all about. And it's also, as you said, it's a sanctuary. It's a place to stop and reset. You know, and again, this is why I love the collaboration with your land, Shona, because that's what that land is inviting. It's inviting a reset. It's inviting, and of course, I'm not just promoting this land. I love it. Land is doing that. I'm here at my friend's land right now in Zeban. If I stop and pause here and walk around, the message will give me the same. It will say, hey, how present are you? Slow down. Are you really listening? What's happening inside? The nervous system can relax so that other things can emerge, you know?
Yeah. Exactly that. And that's the beautiful thing, because spin it around to what we were talking about, that is nature. Nature is. So if we are sitting with nature, nature will teach us what it is, which is simply just being.
Yeah. And it is that in such a world now, it's not about being against anything, accepting all that is, but just knowing that we need to find a balance with these I speak for myself, you know, sometimes my monitor comes up, says I'm 8 hours online. So that's with Spotify listening, Zoom calls, Telegram, Instagram, Facebook, right? Or maybe speaking to people on calls, right? That's 8 hours on average some days. 8 hours recently.
Lots. Yeah.
I said that has to stop. That has to be about 4 hours so that I can have more time with myself. Maybe do nothing, right? Do nothing. Let the spontaneity of life happen. If I choose to read a book or play a musical instrument, not because it's a burden or it's taking me away from something, you know. So this is really a calling I notice not just here, I'm seeing posts pop up. I'm seeing that we're in a new 9-year cycle where it's asking us, if we're into astrology and so on, it's asking us to face and look at the certain habits, behaviors, addictions, and certain ways that we've been showing up, which no longer serve us.
Exactly.
You know, and I think that you've had that invitation through also birthing a beautiful divine soul into this world. Yeah, so this for me is the theme right now. And tell me, if you, those listening, if you resonate with this in the comments, just let me know if what me and Shona are sharing, is this alive for you at the moment in your own self-inquiry, where we are with information overload, so much going on, so many ways to get distracted. Do you notice the resistance if you go, oh, I'm going to just sit down for an hour and do zero, right? Not even do zero, be zero, right?
Yeah. And how do you experience it? Because I think, like, for many, it's very difficult, and it can be very frustrating. It's simply easier to do things because we have a very active mind. So then sitting there and just being can quickly become this experience that might not be what you thought it was going to be. And that's what I love you're bringing your retreat. It's just like, it's not about the doing, but can you indeed embrace and actually see the discomfort under the layers of doing? Because that's usually the stuff, isn't it? Like, we're doing, busy, because at least that's how I've experienced it in my life myself. Because I don't want to sit with the uncomfortable things for now. I don't want to feel the uncomfortable feelings. I just want joy, happiness, ecstaticness, and pleasure. And underneath that, I don't want to see that. But then, of course, you live a very shallow life because it's a very small amount of space that you actually have to navigate life through. And to take that off and to go underneath and see, like, okay, but actually, what is all my pleasure seeking about? Is actually not being looked at. Can I feel that sadness? And that is a part of it, I think, where, like, oh, are we running away from something that's within us that simply just needs to be seen? And, you know, we do live a polarized life. It just is, you know, there's the negative and the positive. There's, you know, there's anger, sadness, this and that, the whole spectrum. When we embrace that, life is so colorful. But yeah, some things are shit. But that also, like, accepting it. It can be great, potent lessons.
Yeah. And as you're speaking, I was getting this little image of, like, people are even doing meditation now, or doing yoga, or doing stuff, you know, where it's like ticking it off the list. I noticed how that became for me my morning routine. Okay, tick, tick, tick. Did I really sit there and actually sit and become spaciousness for a moment? Or did I just whirl around with all the things that need to go on the to-do list after I've sat for this hour-long period where I'm thinking, I got to get moving now, you know?
Yeah.
We have to catch these incessant parts of the mind-made self that's just driving us into oblivion, you know?
Yeah. I think also, like, it's just a nice way, like, if, you know, I think that's why we all get into this work anyway, is because it's just brought so much yumminess for ourselves, you know? And that's the cathartic crying and the ecstatic dancing. It's both. It's like aliveness. Like, you're fully alive. There's no numb in this type of, and there's no numb in naked. There's no numb in Serra Vida. There is alive, and it can be daunting. It can be super scary, but you are alive in the moment, in the now, with all the feels.
Yeah, that's a beautiful point. Thank you for bringing that in. I recently recorded a podcast and we spoke about, like, the path of pleasure and the work we're offering. Let's say, I don't even know if work's the right, you know, the invitation that we are inviting people into is to connect to the aliveness that is already here at all times. And actually, it doesn't come from obtaining more and doing more. It comes from stopping and realizing that we are the interconnected aliveness of all. We are alive. But in the and the woman said, who was speaking to Lucy, she was saying, like, you know, it's the art of living. It's the, you know, we connect and touch ourselves and sit with ourselves to come alive, to realize we are alive, you know, and we're not living dead. We are here to be alive, and that is to be in communion with the aliveness that is all around us at all times in the space in between. It's everything is alive.
And it's so vast and mind like boggling. It's like, yes, just yes.
Yes, it's just a yes. So lastly, my love, I know I'm aware of our time, and thank you so much for being with me for almost an hour today. I really appreciate it. I'd love us to I'd love us to do another one another time, but for me, so not only am I inspired by you, Daniel, and I just want to name your other co-founder. What's his name?
Leon.
Leon, you know, the triad that you are. First of all, I just want to acknowledge you all. Like I'm totally inspired, and I call you the pioneers. And why I say you're the pioneers, and I just want us to end on this piece, because this isn't about whether you come to Serra Vida, whether you come to Naked Soul, right? I want you to. Of course I do, right? But community, spaces like this, what Serra Vida, what Shona, Daniel, and what I am inviting, and Leo and everyone that out there, there's many in Portugal, there's many in Costa Rica, there's many all around the world. There is a calling back to the land, into community environment, into authenticity, into where we take full responsibility for ourselves, sovereignty of the land, guardianship of the land, listening to the elementals, where we grow our own food, where we realize the interconnectedness of all things, where we have a deep respect for all life, for our sacred body, for the sacred beings that we are, and all beings, right? That is a calling, you know. So I'd love you just to speak to that briefly, because you heard that call, and you've done it, you know, and I bow to you all for that, and you inspire me immensely.
Oh, thank you, Simon. I could listen to you speak all day. Yes, let's do it. Always for your aliveness and just pure, like, just vividness in life. I love it. Thank you so much for coming into my life.
Yeah, well, thank you, and yeah, any last words that you want to share, either about Serra Vida or whatever's alive in you? You're completely free. Just I'd love your voice to be the ending voice before we wrap up today.
No, I think yeah, I sometimes always look back and just listen to the land for some reason. I was like, what do you got to say about here? It's been the most profound calling, actually. I think I always believed in magic, and growing up in a city, I kind of always thought that was more of an ethereal, was more of a, a Tinkerbell, a fairies, a thing, like something that was somehow not earthbound.
Mm.
Then as I went traveling and spent more time in nature, it was really beautiful to see that the magic that and I feel we all long for magic. I think that maybe, it could be Disney that's kind of, popped it in there a bit, but there's always this longing, this deep longing for magic, and for the sparkles, the unexpected, the synchronicity in life, just that moment where you're just like, it exists, it's real.
Yeah.
And the more I spend in nature, out of urban surroundings, and don't get me wrong, I also love urban surroundings still. I'm not against cities at all. I love it. It can be just as magical. But when you're in nature, all of a sudden you realize it's here. It's us. It's our planet. It's the animals that pop out of nowhere. It's the signs that you're constantly being sent, but we might be a little bit too distracted to just sit there and listen. That the most beautiful teaching for me is the magic is actually all around us, within us, underneath us, everywhere. But nature is huge, and the land is definitely always speaking.
Yeah, that's beautiful, and I love that you bring the magic in. In fact, I'm gonna just get you just to say the little piece about the land again, that Lexi came and just shared the you had a soul reading. Would you just share that little piece, because I think it's really a really important piece just for today's first introduction to this land.
So we have a dear friend called Lexi, who does soul songs. Most people know her, and she did a reading of the land, because before we signed the final papers, before we kind of really started putting allowing our vision to merge with the land of Serra Vida, we wanted to actually ask the spirits of the land what they think about our plans. So we did a reading, and she read the land, she spoke to the land, and she also sang a soul song for the land. Now, the land has 5 energetic spaces. I won't go into that now because it is, you know, it's a lot. But there are all these energetic spaces. They all contribute to the elements within us that we, well, I guess the elements of Serra Vida as well, and life, which is, you know, playfulness, creativity. There's the shadow world where you go in to see your shadows to allow it to rise up. There's a part where you can go up onto a certain part and you talk to the beyond and can ask questions. And then there's a part of cerebral clarity where you can have a vision that shoots forward so that you know where you're going in life as human beings. And the message most strongly that came out of the soul song was that this place is very much for you to be, to allow whatever that is within you to rise, for you to be able to see it and to embrace it and to let go of what is no longer serving you. And it can be sometimes confronting, but always, every time when people come here, there is just this, usually it's quite a shift that happens in quite afterwards, if that's their intention, and that's magical every time. And then there's just the playfulness that I feel is the magic part of it, because we can do the work, we got the shadow work, we got the beyond, but then there's the playfulness right here. And the fairies bring that, and this is the moment where everyone thinks, like I said earlier, people think like lost it.
Yeah, exactly. I think I'm a fairy. I think I'm the playful fairy as well.
You are definitely a fairy, Simon. Big time. Big time. But that's why they're the cheeky elements in life that make things a little bit spicy and funny, you know. And when you start spending a lot of time in nature, you start seeing things which are not just birds and trees and rivers, and they're magical, but you start seeing elements and energies moving which we might not thought was possible. And that part is magic, but then also the animals, the nature, everything is magic, but that part definitely is pretty expansive.
Yeah. Thank you so much for like ending on magic, because you know, I went to a party the other day, and there's this little girl, and and she was looking through the window, and she was like about maybe 6 or years. She was like, there's just carpets in there. And I said, they're magic carpets, they're not just carpets. And she was like, they're not magic carpets. And I said, they are magic carpets. What do you mean? They just land there, wait till you walk on them, and you go in them, and they move, and they take you into places you've never been before. She was like, really? And then she looked at her mum, and she was like, and she was checking, and her mum was like, yeah. So anyway, she goes in there, right? And she was rolling on there. I forgot I said this to her. She came up to me in the dance and said, nothing happened. I've rolled on lots of the carpets. Yeah. And I said, show me. And then she was like, she went and laid on one, and then I started rippling it, yeah, like this, like rippling the carpet. And she was moving on it. I said, see? What do you mean? And she was like, no, you just did that. I said, I never did that. That's the magic. You have to give it time for it to arise, you know.
Exactly.
And then she was completely like brought into that world for a moment, you know.
But that's beautiful, and I think that's exactly that the childlike curiosity that she actually went and checked it out, and she lay on the carpet, and she had a fantastic time. Most likely, she went and she rolled on the carpets and she did her thing, and then you guys went on a whole adventure, and that is magic.
Yeah, it's magic. Yeah, and you know what? You know what as well? She said to me at one point, she goes, there's not magic, it's only on summit. And I said, did you not think it's magic that you came out of your mama?
Yeah.
And she was like, no. And then her mum went, that's quite magical.
It's very magical.
Oh my God.
It's very magical.
We could do a whole live, maybe we will, on magic, because you said it earlier, and I just want to echo it for everyone listening. Synchronicity. the unfolding. You said it so beautifully. Just sit and allow and start to see beyond the seeing. And let's not even name things as trees, as rivers, as rocks. Let's not name anything as we've put it into these boxes that have limited it to a vibrational field that makes us forget the magic.
Exactly.
And that is what Naked Soul is an invitation into. That's what Serra Vida is an invitation into. It's an invitation back into the magic of being.
Exactly. And they're allowing it all to unfold right in front of the very magic.
Boom.
Boom.
Thank you so much, Shona. Thank you for your time. Thank you to Daniel. Thank you to Leo. I'm saying that right there.
Yeah.
Thank you to the three of you. I look forward to hugging you again and being with you on the land. Not so long now.
I know. Very, very, very excited. And I'm looking forward to get naked.
Yeah, indeed. That will be magic. And for those, if you're tuning in this far, listen, if you're in alignment and you are feeling the call, don't hesitate. Head over to the website, share this live with your friends. It would be a great support to me and Corinna. And we are relaunching this Naked Soul experience. We have space for about 18 beings. We have 2 right now that are fixed. They've come through the process of applying. You have to have a Zoom call with us. Not everybody is a yes. So a couple of beings that did apply already, they're not a fit for this particular experience, but you might be. So fill in the form, have a Zoom call with myself and Corinna, or me or Corinna individually, and we hope to meet you in May and do nothing.
Simply be.
Mwah.
So good to chat, Simon. Thank you for this beautiful, beautiful call today.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I love you. I appreciate you. And we hug soon.
Lots of love.
Ciao, ciao.